Let me ask you something real quick. When was the last time you spoke life into yourself? Not to impress people, not for social media, but just for you. Because listen, if you're not speaking power into your own soul, if you're leaving your mind open for the world to speak doubt in today, I want to give you something simple but life-changing, something I call speak 5 lines to yourself every day. And these 5 lines, they're not just words, they're weapons. Speak these to yourself and watch what starts to shift in your life. Let's go. Your words shape your world. What you speak is what you start to believe. Speak to yourself like someone you believe in, because no one hears you more than you. Affirmations aren't magic, but they are medicine for the broken, the tired, the dreamer. Confidence isn't given, it's spoken into existence daily by your own mouth. Your self-talk creates your self-image, and that image controls your actions. If you want respect from others, start with self-respect, and that starts with what you say to yourself. The mind listens to repetition. That's why 5 lines said daily can reset your whole mindset. Negativity is natural, but positivity must be planted and spoken. Even in silence, your thoughts are talking. So direct them with purpose. You can't always control life, but you can control your language, and that changes how you handle life. Let me ask you something real quick. When was the last time you spoke life into yourself? When things were going great, not when everybody was clapping for you, not when you got the job, passed the test, or hit the goal. I'm talking about the days when you felt like quitting, the days when your own shadow felt heavier than your future. When was the last time you stood in front of the mirror, looked yourself dead in the eyes, and said, I got you? Most people don't do it. They wait for someone else to encourage them. They scroll for inspiration. They look outside. They look around, but they rarely look within. You've been carrying burdens, doubts, pain, and sometimes you expect the world to notice and come lift you up. But the truth is nobody's coming, not because they don't care, but because they don't know how much you need it. You know who knows? You know exactly what you've been through. You know the nights you couldn't sleep, the mornings you didn't want to wake up, the moments when your smile was fake but necessary. So who better to speak power into your life than you? People think motivation is just some hype, some buzzwords. But let me tell you something. Your words are seeds, and every time you speak, you plant something in your future. You speak failure and you're planting fear. You speak doubt and you're watering insecurity. But you speak strength and you plant endurance. You speak vision and you give yourself a direction. You speak love to yourself and suddenly you begin to heal. Let me break it down. You see athletes talk to themselves before the game. You see CEOs stitch themselves up before a big pitch. You see champions of all walks of life whisper things under their breath before they step into pressure. Why? Because they know the words you speak internally will determine how you show up externally. So if you ain't talking to yourself, you're leaving a dangerous silence, and in that silence, doubt starts to speak. Fear finds a voice. Insecurity fills the room. That's why you got to be louder than your fear. You got to speak over your anxiety. You got to talk to yourself like you're coaching the best version of you into existence. It's not about arrogance. It's about survival. Because there are days you will feel weak. There are days you will forget who you are. And on those days, if you don't have a voice of truth echoing in your mind, you'll fall for lies. That's why every single day you need to make time, even 2 minutes, to speak to yourself. Remind yourself who you are. Remind yourself what you're capable of. Remind yourself that storms don't last and neither does failure. Speak life. Speak fire. Speak future. Because if you won't speak it, nobody else will say it for you consistently. This world is loud with doubt. Be louder with belief. Start your day not by checking your phone, not by checking your failures, but by checking in with yourself and saying, hey, I still believe in you. You'd be surprised how powerful those words become when they come from your own mouth, because the person you listen to the most is you. So now I ask again, when was the last time you spoke life in yourself? Not just casually, but like your life depended on it. Maybe today is the day to start. Maybe this moment right now is the moment you shift everything. All it takes is 5 lines, 5 truths, 5 declarations. Say them with heart. Say them with purpose. Say them like your future is listening, because it is. Your words shape your world. Let that sink in. Not your job, your circumstances, not your background, your words. The things you tell yourself every day, whether out loud or silently in your thoughts, become the blueprint for how you live, how you move, how you see yourself, and how far you'll go. Think about it when you wake up in the morning and immediately think, I'm tired, I'm not good enough, nothing ever works for me. What happens? You carry that energy into your day. You slouch, you hesitate, you overthink, you second guess every move, and before you know it, Your whole day is shaped by the words you spoke when you first opened your eyes. You're not lazy. You're not incapable. You're not unlucky. But you might be speaking the wrong script over your life. And that script becomes your reality. You got to change the words if you want to change the story. Your words are not just sounds. They are creative power. They are declarations. They are seeds being planted into the soil of your future. And if you're not intentionally planting hope, purpose, strength, and belief, then you are accidentally growing fear, insecurity, and limitation. You ever wonder why some people walk into a room and command respect even before they say a word? It's because they've been speaking to themselves in private long before they ever stepped into public. They've been building themselves up. They've been affirming their value. They've been shaping their internal world with words that build, not break. So when they walk in, they're not looking for approval. They've already given it to themselves. It's not magic. It's not reserved for a few lucky people. It's a mindset, and it starts with what you say. Because if you keep saying, I'm broke, your decisions will match that. If you keep saying, I can't, your actions will prove you right. If you keep saying, it's too hard, your mind will shut down every time something challenges you. But what if you change that? What if you started saying, I'm built for this. I've survived worse. I'm not perfect, but I'm progressing. I may not have everything, but I've got everything I need to start. Just imagine how different your energy would be. Imagine how different your day would feel. Imagine what new doors will open simply because you change your language. Let me tell you, the world already tries to label you. It calls you too much, too little, not enough, too different, too late. And if you don't counter those voices with your own, you'll start to believe them. But when you speak to yourself with intention, you begin to rewrite the narrative. You remind yourself that you are not what happened to you. You are not what they said about you. You are what you decide you are. And that decision, it starts in your words. Even when you don't feel confident, speak confidence. Even when you don't feel strong, speak strength. Even when the vision feels far away, speak it like it's already yours. Why? Because your words are prophetic. They are instructions to your spirit. Your words tell your mind what to look for, what to focus on, what to expect. Speak defeat and you'll see defeat. Speak power and you'll walk in it. This isn't just some feel-good practice. This is survival. This is success. This is how you reclaim your mind from negativity. Because guess what? Doubt will always come knocking. Insecurity will always whisper. But your voice, your words, can drown them out. It's not about ignoring problems. It's about reminding yourself that you are bigger than your problems. If your words are the beginning of every breakthrough you will ever experience. So take them seriously, watch them closely. Speak like your future is listening, because it is. Speak like your destiny is waiting for your permission, because it is. And the only thing standing between the life you have and the life you want could be the very words you speak today. So speak wisely, speak boldly, speak life, speak power, because the world you want starts with the words you choose. Speak to yourself like someone you believe in. Not just casually, not just when it feels good, but intentionally, consistently, like your life depends on it, because it does. Let's be real. How often do you uplift other people? You tell your friends, you got this. You look at someone through a tough time and say, you're strong, you're going to make it. You cheer for others, you clap for them, you speak greatness into them, and that's beautiful. But here's the hard truth: when you rarely do that for yourself. You become your own harshest critic, your loudest doubter, your most unforgiving judge. But what would happen if you flipped the script? What if for once you became your own loudest supporter? There is a version of you that exists in potential, a version of you that's confident, disciplined, focused, full of fire and clarity. That version of you doesn't just need plans, routines, or motivation videos. That version of you needs you to speak life into it every day. Because if you don't believe in you, who will? If you don't speak life to your soul, who will do it when you're alone at 2 a.m., when your doubts are the only voice in the room? You've got to be the one who steps up and says, I see you. I know you're tired. I know you're overwhelmed. I know life has been testing you, but you're still standing. You still have fight in you. And I still believe in you. Speak like that. Speak from a place of belief, even when your feelings haven't caught up yet. Your feelings will follow your focus, and your focus is guided by your words. That's why the most powerful weapon you have isn't in your bank account. It isn't your resume. It isn't in your followers. It's in your mouth. Your words can build you up or break you down. They can lift your head or drag your spirit. And every time you speak, you're making a choice. Too many people are waiting for someone else to tell them they're not, waiting for applause, waiting for validation. But sometimes life will go silent. Sometimes nobody will notice your effort. Sometimes people will disappoint you. And on those days, you need a voice that still tells you, keep going. That voice has to come from you. That's why you must talk to yourself with belief, not delusion. Belief. There's a difference. Belief doesn't ignore flaws. It accepts them and still says, you can grow. Belief doesn't deny struggle. It looks it in the eye and says, you're bigger than this. Belief doesn't wait for perfection. It finds purpose in the progress. You're going to go through storms. That's part of life. But you can't let the storm inside you get louder than the one outside you. And that's where your self-talk comes in. Your inner voice is your anchor, your lifeline, your compass. And if that voice is filled with doubt, hate, fear, and negativity, you'll sink, no matter how bright the future looks. But if that voice is rooted in belief and faith and identity, you'll rise through things that should have crushed you. You'll get back up after setbacks. You'll walk through fire and come out stronger, all because of how you talk to yourself when nobody was watching. Think about the power in that. You don't have to wait for the perfect timing. You don't need 1 million followers. You don't need the world to validate you. All you need is a moment to pause, look in the mirror and say, I am not giving up on me. Say it like you mean it. Say it like your future self is listening and whispering, thank you. Because one day that version of you, the one living the dream, walking in peace, standing in purpose, that version will look back and realize the reason they made it was because you chose to believe. You chose to speak life, even when everything around you felt dead. So stop waiting. Don't wait for someone else to believe in you more than you believe in yourself. Be the fire. Be the voice. Speak to yourself like someone you believe in, because the moment you do, everything begins to shift. Affirmations aren't magic, but they are medicine, real medicine, the kind your soul needs, the kind that doesn't come in a bottle, but in a sentence. You see, in a world that's constantly trying to tell you who you're not and what you lack and why you'll never make it, you've got to intentionally remind yourself of who you are, what you carry, and where you're going. That's what affirmations are. They're not fluffy quotes to make you feel temporarily good. They are tools of survival, daily dose of truth that shift your mindset, center your emotions, and realign your vision when everything around you feels chaotic. You don't use affirmations because everything in life is perfect. You use them because life is hard, because life gets loud, because fear creeps in and doubt begins to echo. You use affirmations because on some days, strength doesn't come naturally. Confidence doesn't come easy. Focus doesn't come freely. But when you open your mouth and speak intentional, purposeful, soul-building truth, something inside begins to respond. That's not magic. That's the power of your own voice aligning with who you were created to be. Let's be honest. Nobody wakes up every day feeling strong. Nobody walks through life without seasons of weakness, insecurity, confusion. But the difference between those who rise and those who stay stuck is not talent, not luck, not even resources. The difference is inner dialogue. Those who rise have learned to talk to themselves better than the world talks to them. They've built the habit of affirming what's good, even when they don't see it yet. They've learned to declare light, even in the dark, and that takes intentional practice. You may think affirmations are just phrases, but they are actually instructions. They tell your brain what to focus on. They direct your thoughts. They shape the filter through which you see everything else. You say, I am strong, and your brain starts looking for strength. You say, I am healing, and your brain starts identifying what's no longer broken. You say, I am capable, and suddenly your mind starts connecting with possibility. This isn't delusion. This is design. Your brain is wired to follow your words, so feed it with power. Think about how often we reinforce negativity without even realizing it. We say, I'm always tired. I can't do this. Nothing works for me. I'm just not good enough. And guess what? Your brain agrees. Your body agrees. Your emotions follow suit. The pattern continues. That's why you need affirmations, not to lie to yourself, but to break the cycle. You need to interrupt the narrative that says you can't and replace it with the truth that you can. And not just once, but daily. Repetition matters. Consistency matters. You didn't build your fears overnight, and you won't rebuild your confidence in a single moment. But if you keep speaking truth, that truth will eventually grow louder than the lies. Affirmations are personal. They don't have to sound pathetic. They don't need to be perfect. They just need to be real. They need to speak to your struggle and lift you from it. They need to remind you of your identity, not your insecurity. They need to come from a place of truth, and they need to be said with conviction. Even if at first you don't believe them, because belief grows when it's watered with consistency. Say it even when your voice shakes. Say it even when your mind argues back. Say it until your fear starts to quiet, until your doubt begins to break, until your strength feels real again. Speak it in the mirror, speak it in the car, speak it in the silence. Don't just whisper it, declare it. Because there's something powerful about hearing your own voice speak words of life, especially when everything else is speaking death. Affirmations are medicine because they heal what the world tries to break. They realign what life tries to scatter. They strengthen what hardship tries to weaken. And over time, those little moments, those quiet affirmations, they add up. You start walking taller. You start making decisions from faith instead of fear. You start recognizing your worth in places you used to shrink. You start becoming the version of yourself that always existed beneath the surface. Not because of magic, but because of the medicine of your words, and that is something nobody can take away from you. So don't wait for a crisis to start affirming yourself. Don't wait for the breakdown. Start now. Start while you still feel shaky. Start before the world gives you permission, because your healing isn't a someday thing, it's a daily decision. And it starts with how you speak to you. Not magic, just medicine. Real, necessary soul-saving medicine that comes from the truth in your own voice. Confidence isn't given, it's spoken into existence. Nobody wakes up one day magically confident. Nobody hands it to you. It's not something you can buy, borrow, or inherit. Confidence is built, and the very foundation it stands on is the words you speak to yourself every single day. Most people walk through life thinking that confidence will come after success, after approval, after they achieve the big goal or receive validation from someone else. But the truth is, confidence comes before all of that. It's what pushes you to take the first step. It's what keeps you standing when the applause stops. It's what reminds that you are still worthy, still valuable, still enough, even when nothing around you says so. But here's the key. It's not enough to hope for confidence. You've got to speak it into existence. You've got to say the things your soul needs to hear before anybody else sees it in you. You've got to look in the mirror and say, I am capable. Even when your hands are shaking, you've got to say, I am worthy. Even when your past tries to convince you otherwise, you've got to say, I belong here. Even when imposter syndrome is screaming in your head, because the truth is your confidence doesn't start from the outside. It starts from the inside. And your inner voice is the architect. Every time you speak belief, you lay another brick. Every time you speak courage, you reinforce the structure. Every time you speak truth over your fear, you raise the ceiling higher. Think about how many times you've talked yourself out of opportunities. You told yourself you weren't ready, you weren't qualified, someone else could do it better. And so you sat on the sidelines of your own life, waiting to feel confident before you moved. But confidence doesn't come from standing still. Through action, it grows through experience. But most importantly, it grows through your words. Your words are the gasoline to the fire of your self-belief. If you keep telling yourself you're not enough, you'll never act like you are. But if you start saying, I may not have all the answers, but I'm willing to learn. I may not be perfect, but I'm showing up anyway. I'm nervous, but I'm still moving forward. That changes everything. Confidence is not about never feeling fear. It's about speaking truth in spite of fear. It's about choosing the voice of courage when anxiety wants to take the mic. It's about deciding that your purpose is louder than your panic. And that starts with intentional, consistent self-talk. You have to talk to yourself the way a mentor would, the way a coach would, the way someone who loves you deeply would. You have to become the voice that uplifts you when no one else is around. And I mean truly speak it, not just think it. Say it out loud. Let your ears hear your own courage. Let your heart recognize your own strength. Because hearing yourself speak belief begins to train your mind to trust it. And don't get it twisted. Confidence doesn't mean you never fail. It means you trust yourself enough to rise after failure. It doesn't mean you never get nervous. It means you don't let nerves become the narrative. It doesn't mean you think you're better than others. It means you finally stop thinking you're less. Confidence is humble, but it's unshakable. It knows you're growing. It accepts the imperfections. It allows you to walk into a room without shrinking, to take up space without apologizing, to be both a work in progress and completely worthy at the same time. But the world won't always affirm you. People won't always clap. There will be days when your accomplishments go unnoticed, your efforts misunderstood, your light unappreciated. And in those moments, you can't rely on the external to keep you going. You need a well of confidence inside you that you've been filling up every day with your own words. Words of life, words of purpose, words that say, I got me, words that don't need permission to speak boldness over your journey. You want to know how some people seem to walk with such certainty, even in chaos. It's not that they never doubt themselves. It's that they've trained their voice to be louder than the doubt. It's that they've built a pattern of speaking life into their path. You can do that too. It starts with a decision to show up for yourself with your words, to reject the voice that says you're not enough and replace it with one that says, I'm becoming more than I ever imagined. Say that. Say it again. Say it until your mind believes it. Say it until your actions align with it. Say it until the world sees it too, because they will. But it starts with you, with your voice, with your decision to stop waiting for confidence to arrive and instead begin speaking it into existence right here, right now. And your self-talk creates your self-image, and that image controls your actions. That's not just a motivational idea. It's a deep truth that shapes how you lie, you lead, how you love, and how you move through the world. The way you speak to yourself becomes the way you see yourself. And the way you see yourself becomes the foundation of every choice you make. Think about it. You will never consistently act in a way that contradicts the image you hold of yourself on the inside. So if your self-image is small, insecure, and filled with doubt, your actions will always shrink to fit that mold. No matter how big your dreams are, it doesn't matter how many goals you write down, how many vision boards you make, or how many plans you set. If the image you carry of yourself is broken, fearful, weak, or unworthy, then even your best intentions will collapse under the weight of that internal voice. Because that voice, your self-talk, is constantly sculpting how you see you. And if it's filled with criticism, negativity, and discouragement, it begins to chip away at your confidence like erosion over time. It doesn't happen all at once. It's slow, subtle. But one day you look up and realize you're not showing up in your life like you should. You're playing small. You're hiding your gifts. You're saying no to things you were born to say yes to, all because the voice inside convinced you you're not enough. But here's the truth, and that voice can be rewritten. That image can be rebuilt. You are not stuck with the narrative life handed you. You are not trapped inside the opinions of your past, your mistakes, or other people's projections. Your self-image is a reflection of the story you've been repeating in your head, and you can tell a new story. You can build a new script. You can start speaking to yourself with the same kindness, belief, and hope that you offer everyone else. Because let's be honest, you would never talk to a friend the way you talk to yourself. You would never call them a failure. You would never shame them for being tired. You would never tell them they're not capable or not worthy of trying again. But you say it to yourself, quietly, often without even realizing how much it's costing you. Every time you say, I can't, you're telling your mind to stop trying. Every time you say, I'm not good enough, you're reinforcing fear. Every time you say, what's the point? You're shutting the door to new possibilities. And here's where it gets serious. Your brain doesn't know the difference between a joke and the truth when it comes from your own mouth. It takes your words literally. It begins to adjust your perspective, your emotions, and your behavior based on what you consistently say. So what you say to yourself isn't just harmless. It's powerful. It's directional. It's shaping who you become. The way to change your self-image isn't by chasing more external things. It's by changing the internal language. You start by catching the lies, you small ones, the sneaky ones. I'm always messing up. I'll never get it right. This is just who I am. When you hear those lines, pause, challenge them, replace them, speak the truth, even if your feelings don't agree yet. Say, I've made mistakes, but I'm still growing. Say, this is hard, but I'm learning. Say, I'm not where I want to be, but I'm where I used to be. Little by little, those words start painting a new picture, a truer one, a stronger one that reflects the best version of you, the version that's been waiting to emerge. You see, a healthy self-image doesn't mean you think you're perfect. It means you see yourself accurately, with grace, with strength, with vision. It means you give yourself room to grow without labeling yourself a failure. It means you allow yourself to dream without constantly tearing yourself down. It means you start to believe that you're allowed to take up space in this world, that your voice matters, that your story is valuable, that your presence is not a mistake. And as your self-image changes, so do your actions. You begin to show up differently. You apply for opportunities you used to talk yourself out of. You speak with more clarity, more courage, more conviction. You stop apologizing for existing. You begin to attract relationships, environments, and experiences that reflect the new standard you've set for how you see yourself. Not because the world changed, but because you did. But it all starts with your words, with the quiet daily habit of speaking life over yourself, of refusing to let your inner voice be your inner bully, of catching yourself when you start spiraling into shame and choosing instead to speak with purpose. That's not just self-help. That's self-leadership. That's mental discipline. That's emotional responsibility because no one else lives in your mind but you. And no one else can do this work for you. So speak wisely, speak kindly, speak like you are someone worth rooting for. Because your self-image isn't fixed, it's flexible. And every day with every word, you are either building the strongest version of you or reinforcing the one that's holding you back. Choose the words that build. Choose the voice that lifts. Choose the story that frees you, and don't stop speaking it until the image you hold of yourself matches the greatness you were always meant to live.